How can you avoid one of the worst possible situations with a dealership? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. I'm going to show you one of the worst car deals I've seen all year and how bad things can potentially get when you buy a car from a dealer. And right after making this deal, when you think things can't possibly get any worse for this consumer, well, that's when they do. It's no secret that many car dealers price gouge and take advantage of consumers. But ever since the pandemic, things have become much worse than ever before. So we're going to go through this deal, find out how you can protect yourself and how you can prevent something like this from happening to you in the future. So what we have here is a purchase agreement or contract to buy a brand new 2023 Jeep Gladiator. Now, this customer, as we can see by the date, purchased this vehicle at the end of January of 2024. So this was a leftover 2023 model that the dealership was trying to clear off their lot. On the left side here, we can see the price breakdown with the MSRP of the vehicle, which is $61,995. And just below that, we have all the options that are straight from the Jeep website. So that's all perfectly fine. Now, going further down on the price breakdown, we can see our fees. We have a freight and PDI fee of $21.95. And again, that's a normal mandatory fee when purchasing a brand new car. Sometimes the freight is built into the MSRP, and sometimes it's separate from the MSRP. But either way, it needs to be paid one way or another, so that's fine. And below that, we can see that we have a dealer reduction or discount of $73.84. Now remember, this is a clear out 2023 model, so chances are this discount is largely made up of rebates. So not really something the dealership is doing for the customer. They've just integrated the rebates and they're calling it a dealer reduction, which is again totally fine. But just below that, that's when we begin to see things start to fall apart. We have our dealer fees, a loan processing fee of $4.99, and then we have some dealer add-ons. We have a spray bed liner for almost $1,900, and we have a rust corrosion module for $2,000. Now, I am a huge advocate for proper oil spray rust protection, but when it comes to electronic rust protection modules, well, I've seen a lot of evidence to suggest that they really don't do very much. And not only are they ineffective, but they're incredibly overpriced. You can go on Amazon and you can find these electronic modules selling for around only $150. So the fact that the dealership is charging $2,000 for the module, well, they're absolutely price gouging this consumer and taking full advantage of them. This is nothing but dealer profit. And just below that, we have an extended warranty plan for an extra 2 years of coverage for almost $4,000. Again, a lot of dealer profit built into that. So when you add up all of these add-ons, the dealership is basically offsetting the discount they gave this customer, and they're adding all of that right back into the price, which is how we have a total price just below that of $74,510. But it gets even worse. Now, below our subtotal, we have our trade-in vehicle. This customer traded in a 2021 Jeep Gladiator. Now, the problem with this trade-in is that they had a lien on the vehicle. They still owed a lot of money on it. The owing balance was just over $48,000, but the dealership only gave them $34,000 as a trade-in value, which means that this customer is rolling over just over $14,000 worth of negative equity into the deal. Now, I did go over the trade-in vehicle with this customer and determined that the actual fair trade-in value for this Gladiator should have been around $38,000, which means they still would have had $10,000 of negative equity to roll into the deal, but there's no question that in this particular case, the dealership lowballed them on the trade-in value to make more money, which is why the negative equity is way higher than it should be. So we have thousands of dollars worth of dealer add-ons, we have $14,000 worth of negative equity, and that gives us our total price at the bottom of just under $95,000. An incredible amount of money to spend on a Jeep Gladiator, but it gets even worse. If we move over to the financing terms of the contract, we can see that we have gap insurance for $3,000. That's an insane amount of money to spend on gap. And we have an 84-month loan. So this is a 7-year financing loan at an interest rate of 5.13%. That's an average financing rate for a new vehicle, but the problem is because this amount is being financed on such a long-term loan, 7 years, the total cost of borrowing or the total amount of interest on this loan is going to be just over $18,000, which means if this consumer pays off this vehicle, they will have spent over $115,000 in total on a Jeep Gladiator. That's absolutely absurd. And this is why I never recommend to anyone to take out a long-term loan that's 6 years or longer, because you're going to spend a lot more money in interest, increasing your total cost of borrowing, and you're going to be paying off the car a lot slower than it's depreciating, which means that you're going to have a lot more negative equity if you need to get rid of that vehicle. So always do a shorter term loan, 4 to 5 years at the absolute most. And if you can't afford the payments on a 4 or 5 year loan, well then you need to be purchasing a less expensive car. It's as simple as that. So almost everything that could go wrong when buying a new car happened in this deal. They overpaid for the vehicle by around $8,000 worth of unnecessary overpriced products. They got lowballed on the trade-in of their trade-in car, and they rolled over $14,000 of negative equity. And they financed over 84 months, which means that they will likely be in negative equity for the next 5 to 6 years. Now, just when you think this deal can't possibly get any worse, well, it's about to get much worse. But before we get to that, I know a lot of people watching up to this point are probably saying, what is wrong with this consumer? Why on earth would they have signed this deal? And they really should have known a lot better. And to a certain degree, I absolutely agree with that. Consumers should go into a dealer educating themselves, knowing what they're getting into, doing their homework and all of that. And don't be afraid to walk away, and make sure you read the contract carefully, shop around, and that kind of thing. But I also have to say this. I've been a consultant for many years now and have helped a lot of consumers, and there's all kinds of people out there. And there are many that fall into a category that I like to call vulnerable consumers. They're vulnerable because they're just easy to take advantage of. These could be consumers who have a language barrier. They might come from another country. They're not familiar with the rules and customs of how to buy a car. They might have a disability or financial literacy disability, or they just might be very naive and have a trusting nature that makes it really easy for the dealership to take advantage of them. And it's really not the fault of the customer in these types of situations. I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way it is sometimes, and this is why consumer protection exists, to really help people in these types of situations. Now, as mentioned, when you think this situation can't possibly get any worse, well, it unfortunately gets much, much worse, because only 6 months after buying this Gladiator, well, the consumer experienced a complete engine failure. Now, when this problem happened, which as mentioned only happened after just 6 months of ownership, or only driving the Gladiator for around 2,000 miles or around 3,000 kilometers, the dealership did a diagnosis. And looking at the diagnosis we have here, we can see that they wrote that metal debris was found in the oil pan, and the main bearing caps inside the engine had overheated and caused the engine to seize. Incredibly though, the dealer wrote on the diagnosis that the cause of the engine failure is unknown. And because the cause of failure is unknown, when this customer submitted the warranty claim, Jeep, or Stellantis in this case, refused to cover the repair under warranty, causing a major battle or dispute between the customer and the manufacturer. Now, as I mentioned, sometimes consumers fall into a vulnerable category, and that's absolutely the case here because this particular consumer did have a major language barrier. They really didn't speak very much English. They're new to the country, don't understand a lot of the rules, and they had absolutely no idea what to do in this situation and how to solve this major problem. Now, there are certain things that you should do when you have a dispute like this with the manufacturer that's refusing to honor a warranty claim. You first need to make sure that you have a proper diagnosis and proper evidence. So one dealership has diagnosed the vehicle and they gave their diagnosis. It doesn't hurt to go to another dealership, maybe even two other dealerships, to get a second or third opinion and see what they say. You can also go to an independent mechanic for a diagnosis, which is what we recommended to this particular customer. And then once you have all that documentation and you can prove that there is in fact a defect with the vehicle that should be covered under warranty, you submit all of that evidence to the manufacturer and see what they say. Now, if they absolutely refuse to cover the repair under warranty and they're just denying the claim, then you have to escalate things to the next level. And this is actually one area where the United States has much better consumer protection than in Canada, because in the United States, there are lemon laws in every single state. Basically, when you have ongoing problems with a vehicle that the manufacturer is not willing or not able to repair, you can hire a lemon law attorney and take advantage of the lemon law consumer protection, where you can actually get compensated, get the vehicle repaired, or in the most extreme case, have the manufacturer purchase the vehicle back from you. It's a fantastic form of consumer protection that unfortunately is not offered in most of Canada. Many might find it surprising to hear that Canada does not have lemon laws, but that is the case. In fact, the province of Quebec is the very first province to finally introduce a lemon law, which they only did at the end of 2023, the first and only one. As for the rest of Canada, if you have ongoing major problems with a vehicle that you purchased brand new and it's still under warranty, if the manufacturer is not willing to cover the repair, well, the only alternative that we have to a lemon law is to go to the Canadian Motor Vehicle Arbitration Plan, otherwise known as CAMVAP, which is an arbitration program that's funded by the car manufacturers. Unfortunately, CAMVAP is nowhere near as effective as actual lemon laws because they only resolve around 120 to 130 cases each year, which is basically nothing. In the United States, lemon laws resolve over 100,000 cases every single year. So there's just absolutely no comparison. And the other issue with CAMVAP, as I mentioned, it's manufacturer funded, and there are some car manufacturers that are not even part of it whatsoever. BMW is not part of it. Stellantis is not part of it, which is a major problem with this particular example because it's a Jeep Gladiator. And as of 2025, Mercedes is no longer going to be a part of it. So when you have all these manufacturers dropping out of the program, well, it really becomes a lot less effective. So what exactly is a consumer like this supposed to do in this situation if they're not able to take advantage of lemon laws, they're not able to use CAMVAP, which is not able to help them, and the manufacturer is not willing to do anything to fix the vehicle? Well, all you can really do in this situation now is to take legal action, which is exactly what we recommended to this consumer. We helped get them a paralegal for a reasonable price, and they have their diagnosis, they have all their documentation from the mechanics that they went to, which are willing to testify to help them with their case. And hopefully Stellantis will either settle with them for a reasonable amount and will do the right thing. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But this is exactly why I always recommend buying a vehicle from a reputable company, one that makes good quality, reliable vehicles, and also one that has a good reputation. Now, in my opinion, as I've said in other videos in the past, Stellantis has a lousy reputation when it comes to its customer service. They can be really difficult to deal with when you have ongoing problems with your vehicle and are trying to get a warranty claim. They're just not really good at dealing with solving problems like this. That's my opinion anyway, from what I've seen helping consumers over the years. So always make sure you buy from a reputable company that has a good reputation for reliable vehicles so that you can avoid things like this happening in the first place. And once you've chosen a good, reliable vehicle and you're ready to deal with the dealership, you cannot put yourself in a situation where a deal like this happens. You have to make sure that you're getting a fair price. You're not paying for any unnecessary fees or dealer add-ons that you don't want. You have to make sure that if you're trading in a vehicle, you're getting a fair trade-in value and you don't have negative equity. You do not want to roll in negative equity into a brand new deal. And you need to make sure that you finance for a reasonable amount of time. Make a large down payment. Finance on a 4 to 5 year loan at the absolute most so that you can pay off the vehicle really quickly and not be stuck in negative equity. And as for resolving disputes with the dealership, if you have a problem with your vehicle that's under warranty, give the manufacturer the opportunity to fix it. Give them a few tries and get a second or third opinion if necessary, and try everything you can to get the problem resolved with them first. And if they're not able to resolve the issue, that's when you have to take advantage of your consumer protection rights. In the United States, there's lemon laws. In Canada, you have to take legal action as mentioned. And as for introducing lemon laws in Canada, well, that's something I'm advocating for and really encouraging the governments in Canada to strongly consider, because we really need to have stronger consumer protection, especially in this day and age where vehicles are getting a lot more complicated. They have more technology, they're more challenging to repair and diagnose, and repairs seem to be taking longer and longer with parts shortages or complicated parts or repairs that just take so long to resolve. So it's really time for Canada to finally have lemon laws, and I strongly recommend that everyone supports that and write to your regulatory authorities asking for that to happen. We all need to do our part. So I hope this was a great learning opportunity for everybody watching. And if you did enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at my other videos by clicking the links up in the corner. You can follow me on Instagram. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to visit carhelpcan.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.